In March of 1998, I signed away half of the company I built. The price was $1. My partner paid it in cash, I put the bill in a file, and for 26 years I believed that was the end of it. Then, in June of 2024, a lawyer I had never met called me at 7 in the morning to ask why I had not signed the closing papers. My name is Eli Rusk, and I am 58 years old. For most of my adult life, I was careful never to say out loud that I used to own half of Rusk and Marchetti Mechanical. I was ashamed of why I signed, and I am going to tell you why I signed, and it will not make you like me at first. By the end of this, you will know the 2 words in that assignment that my partner paid $400 to have written. You will know why a man who owned 100% of the money in a company could not sell that company. He read the document 3 times before he handed me the pen. He never once read the agreement it pointed at. I started the company in 1991 in a rented bay on Delkin Road with a used pipe threader and my father's tools. My father was a millwright for 31 years, and he taught me that the job is not the machine. The job is the plant that stops when the machine stops. I did rigging and plant work for food processors and 2 paper mills. I slept in the truck more nights than I want to count. In 1993, a man named Dean Marchetti came to see me. He had run the service side of a bigger outfit, and he had $60,000, and he could talk to a purchasing manager in a way I never could. We formed the company as a limited liability company that October, 50% each, and we signed an operating agreement that neither of us read past the signature page. His name went second because mine was already on the truck. If you remember one fact from this whole story, remember that the agreement existed and that we did not read it. By 1997, we had 19 employees and we had our first real year. That was also the year my marriage ended. Janine and I had been together since we were 22, and it came apart slowly and then all at once, and I behaved badly at the end of it. I am not going to dress that up. What I want you to understand is the arithmetic that was in my head that autumn. The company had almost no cash, it had a $400,000 line of credit that I had personally guaranteed, and it had 19 people whose checks depended on it. I had convinced myself that if a judge put a number on my half and made me pay it, I would have to sell equipment. And if I sold equipment, we could not run the jobs. So the company was not an asset in my mind. It was a thing that could be killed. That is the lie I told myself, and it was a comfortable lie, because underneath it was a much smaller and uglier thought. The smaller thought was that I did not want her to have any of it. Dean was the one who said it out loud first. He said that if the company was not mine on paper, then there was nothing to argue about, and that we would put it back when the divorce was over. I want to be honest with you here because the whole rest of this depends on it. I did not agree to that reluctantly. I agreed to it fast. I meant to keep something from a woman who had every right to a share of it, and I have had 26 years to sit with that. So we went to see a lawyer named Howard Sepp who had done our leases, and I told him what I wanted. And Howard Sepp, who was 64 years old and charged $110 an hour and had a cough, told me no. He said he would write the assignment because 2 partners are allowed to buy and sell from each other, and he said the price could be $1 because we could set our own price. But he said that if I signed it, he would list it on my sworn financial statement in the divorce at the price I actually got for it. And if I did not want that, he could not be my lawyer anymore. I argued with him for 40 minutes. I told him he was costing me the only thing I had. He waited until I ran out, and then he said one sentence that I did not understand for 26 years. He said, "A court can forgive what you wanted. It cannot forgive what you did." Then he wrote it up, and he listed it on Schedule B of my financial affidavit, and Janine's lawyer read it, and she took the house instead. So I went into that divorce intending to cheat and came out of it having disclosed everything. Not because I was decent. Because an old man with a cough would not let me be anything else. We signed on the 6th of March, 1998. Dean took a $1 bill out of his wallet and pushed it across to me. He laughed while he was doing it. It was a joke between us. The number was never the point. Then he stood up and put his hand out and he said, "When this is behind you, we put it back the way it was." I shook his hand. There was nobody else in that room. That handshake is the reason I never went to a lawyer for 26 years. It is also the reason I would have lost if I had. What is a handshake in an empty room worth once the other man stops agreeing that it happened? It is worth nothing at all. I took the dollar home and I taped it inside the front cover of the file, and I told myself it was temporary. He bought the half that was worth money. It would be a long time before I understood that I had kept the half that was worth everything. The divorce closed in 1999 and I did not bring it up. I told myself I would wait until the company was steadier. In 2001, I asked and he said the bank would want a new personal guarantee if we changed the ownership and that we should wait for the line to be renewed. In 2003, I asked and he said his accountant had told him it would trigger something. In 2006, I asked him in the parking lot at a job in Fenner and he looked at me and said, "Eli, we are past that." I I did not ask again, not once, in 18 years. So why does a grown man do that? The answer is not complicated, and it is not flattering. I could not demand the company back without explaining out loud, to a lawyer or to a judge or to my own daughter, exactly what I had been trying to do in 1998. Shame is a very cheap lock. It held for 18 years and it cost him nothing. Here is the part he never thought about. He kept my name. Rusk and Marchetti Mechanical stayed Rusk and Marchetti Mechanical on the trucks, on the contractor license, and on the bonding history, because in this business the name is the only thing that carries. A surety company writing a bond for a municipal job does not care about your logo. It cares how many years of clean work sits behind the name. So he kept it. He also kept me on something else, and in 2004, that something else was going to save my life. Though it took me 20 years to find out. He never mentioned it, and I never knew. I still had a piece of paper working for me inside that company every single day while I stood in other men's plants running crews for somebody else's shop. On the 11th of June, 2024, a woman named Marla Quist called me. She was a lawyer in a city 3 hours away, and she was doing the diligence on a purchase. A group called Ridgeline Industrial Partners was buying Rusk and Marchetti Mechanical for $8,900,000, and the closing was set for the 30th of August. She was very polite and slightly impatient. She said she had a signature block from me and no signature, and she needed the other 50% member to sign the written consent. I told her she had the wrong Eli Rusk because I had sold out in 1998. There was a pause on that phone that I will hear for the rest of my life. Then she said, in the voice lawyers use when they realize the ground has moved, that she was looking at the company's filings and that I was going to want to sit down. It cost $9 to find out what I actually was. I pulled the company's filings from the state, and then I pulled the operating agreement out of a box in my own garage where it had been since 1993, still stapled, still unread past the signature page. And then I read all of it at a kitchen table in one sitting at 51 minutes past midnight. Section 8.1 said a person who recedes a member's interest becomes a member only on the written consent of all members. Section 9.2 said a member may withdraw only by written notice delivered to the company at least 90 days in advance. I had never given notice. Nobody had ever consented to anything. Then I read the 1998 assignment itself for the first time since the day I signed it. I found the two words Howard Sepp had used. I had to stand up and walk around the room. The assignment said that I assigned my transferable interest. Those are the two words. A transferable interest is a defined thing, and what it means is the money. It is the right to receive distributions and allocations of profit and loss. But it is not membership. Do you see the difference? The money is one thing and the man is another. This is not some modern trick, and it is not a loophole somebody invented recently. The Uniform Partnership Act said it in 1914, and every limited liability company act written since has said the same thing, for a very practical reason. Your creditors and your ex-spouse and anybody you sell to can take your money out of a business, but they cannot make themselves your partner's partner without your partner agreeing. So when you assign your interest, the money goes and you stay. You remain a member with your vote and your right to the books until you withdraw or you are expelled or you die. I had never done any of those three things. I had been a member of that company for 26 years and I did not know it, and neither did he. So what does that make the last 26 years? Once you know it, every one of them reads differently. In 2011, he admitted his son Cody as a member of the company, which under Section 8.1 required the written consent of all members. He never asked me. So Cody was never a member. In 2016, Dean and Cody adopted a restated operating agreement. It made the company manager managed, and it named Dean the sole manager for life. They adopted it by unanimous written consent of the members. Except the members were Dean and me. So that document is a piece of paper with two signatures on it and no legal effect at all. He paid himself $240,000 a year as manager under an agreement that was never adopted. And the sale to Ridgeline, a sale of substantially all the assets of the company, required the consent of every member under Section 7.4 and under the statute besides. Which is exactly why a polite lawyer 3 hours away had a signature block with my name on it and nothing under it. My lawyer sent a demand to inspect the books on the 2nd of July. Dean's lawyer answered on the 9th, and the answer is the whole case. It said that Mr. Rusk has not been a member of this company since the 6th of March, 1998, that he holds no interest of any kind, and that he has no standing to demand anything. That is a strong letter. It is also the only thing he could possibly have said. How do you answer a letter like that? You cannot, because it has to survive next to a document Dean signed himself in 2004. That is the thing he had kept me on. I did not know it existed. Marla Quist sent it to me because she had found it sitting in her own diligence file. In 2004, the company bid a municipal water treatment job that required a performance bond. A surety underwriting a contractor requires a schedule of every owner of 20% or more, submitted under penalty of perjury. It also requires each of those owners to sign a personal indemnity agreement. The surety wants human beings standing behind the paper. Dean submitted that schedule. It lists Eli Rusk at 50%. He signed it. He brought the indemnity agreement to a job site in a folder. He told me it was a renewal on the old credit line. I signed it standing on a tailgate. He was my partner, so I did not read it. That indemnity has been continuously renewed ever since. The bonding line it supports is the single most valuable thing Ridgeline is buying, because a mechanical contractor that cannot bond is worth a fraction of one that can. So my personal credit has been holding up that company for 20 years, and he has spent 6 years of that time telling anyone who asked that I had not owned any part of it since 1998. So where does that leave him? If I was a member, then Cody was never admitted, the 2016 agreement was never adopted, the sale cannot close without my signature, and he has been paying himself under a document with no effect. That road ends with me. Now take the other road. If I truly stopped being an owner in 1998, then the schedule he swore to in 2004 was false. So was every renewal after it. And a surety that learned its indemnity was procured on a false ownership schedule can rescind the entire bond line for material misrepresentation. That road ends with the bonding gone, and a company with no bonding line is not an 800,000-900,000 company. So the truth cost him the sale, and the lie costs him the company. He had spent 26 years building a position that could only survive as long as nobody ever asked him to defend it in writing. Marla Quist asked him in writing on the 19th of July. We settled on the 21st of August, 9 days before the closing. I released my membership and consented to the sale for $2,860,000. The indemnity was discharged, Cody's admission was formally voided, and Ivan Petrak, the foreman there since 1994, who had been promised a piece of it twice, was paid his deferred compensation in full. That came at my insistence, and not at Dean's. And when the signing was done, Dean asked me one question. He asked me when I had found out. I told him the truth. I said the 11th of June, when a stranger called me, and I watched a 61-year-old man understand something. For 26 years, he had been careful around a man who was not coming. Every deflection in every parking lot had been aimed at nothing. He had been afraid of me for a quarter of a century, and there was never anything there. That was the part I did not expect, and it is the part I think about. The $1 bill is still taped inside the front cover of that file. I never spent it, and I never framed it. I just could never think of a single thing worth buying with it, until it bought my name back. He bought the half that was worth money. I kept the half that was worth everything. Guilty or not, tell me in the comments, and I will read them. Next week, a woman whose father's divorce decree ordered him to keep his life insurance for his 2 children. The form he signed in 2019 named somebody else, and the insurance company paid the wrong person on purpose.